This is what you get. This is it. This is a half a cup of cooked rice, about 100 calories. This is what they get each day.
You know, when you put it like that, maybe 8 shot in the darks is actually a pretty fair price to pay. From what I understand, Survivor can make you quite hungry. How hungry, you might ask? Well, enough to make you think this is a reasonable reaction.
I'm pissed!
Bro, it's Applebee's. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Starving people don't do much. They're kind of boring. You want them hungry, you don't want them lethargic, because that's just bad television. For example, the last 3 or so episodes of the Australian Outback. Sometimes production tries to prevent this and offers rice to the tribe, but never without a cost. Today we're looking at all the times players negotiated for rice and we're trying to figure out the value that it carries, mathematically. Let's get into it. Our very first negotiation takes us all the way to the Australian Outback. It was day 30 and the final 7 realized they would not have enough rice to last the entire 42 days. That's fine though, Jeff wouldn't let them starve. I'm sure this will be a very easy negotiation.
I'm talking camp.
Camp? Our tent?
Shelter versus food. It's one or the other.
It's kind of ruthless, not gonna lie. Initially, this doesn't seem too bad to me. Think about it. Australia is kind of famously pretty hot, so surely a tarp, blankets, and Colby's flag weren't that big of sacrifices. Surely the rain wouldn't immediately come and immediately leave them soaked, and surely a flood wouldn't wash away the rice they just negotiated for. That'd just be sad. So far, our baseline is rice for 12 days is worth a flag, some blankets, and a tarp. But we can do better. You see, not all days worth of rice are created equal. For the rest of this video, I will be calculating how many individual servings of rice are given for negotiation based on how many players are left in the game for each day until the final tribal council. If you don't care about the maths, all you need to know is that this bag of rice should theoretically have 58 servings in it, and you can skip ahead to this timestamp. If you do care about the maths, this bag of rice was given to Barramundi on day 30 when there were 7 people left in the game. Then, assuming they had 1 serving of rice per day, they had 7 servings before Nick was voted out later that evening. Then, they had 6 servings per day for 3 days before voting out Amber, 5 servings per day for another 3 days before voting out Roger, 4 servings per day for 3 days before voting out Elizabeth, and finally 3 servings per day for 2 days before voting off Keith. I do not count any servings on day 42 because I assume the castaways would have a survivor breakfast instead of eating more rice. Doing the math on that and adding it all up gives us 58 servings of rice. And now you understand how my math works for the rest of the rice negotiations as well. This does make a few terrible assumptions, such as the tribe not rationing the rice, them having standardized portion sizes per person, and just that production actually cares enough to consider the mathematical number of servings that should be given to make this video work. But it's all just a bit of fun in the end, so we'll take it. Alright, the next negotiation I'm going to talk about is 23 seasons later, in a challenge that was just so poorly designed. Surely this isn't how it went when the Dream Team ran it. Calabao and Tandang are in a stalemate for far too long, so Penner starts talking.
Trade your sandwiches for what? The rice for your rice.
All of Calabao's rice for sandwiches. 1 day's worth of sandwiches. Excuse me?
Rice fuels us.
I get that Penner thinks he can fish, but this is just an outright terrible deal, yeah? Or is it? That's right, people who skip the maths, I'm doing a little more. The merge happened just 3 days later, and I doubt that once the tribes merged, Tandem went, nah, sorry, you can't have the rice, it's not from your tribe. That means, presumably, Calabao is only giving up 18 servings of rice in exchange for sandwiches. This means, according to the math of Jeff at the reunion,
About 100 calories.
as long as these sandwiches have about 1800 calories in them, this is a fair trade. And however many calories you get from eating your lettuce from home, I don't know how much that is. 18 servings of rice now has the value of some sandwiches. That means that a tarp, blankets, and Colby's flag combined has the value of 3.22 sandwich rewards. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. God, I could make an entire video just talking about Hunapu's complete disaster of negotiating with Jeff Probst. It's so good. But let's focus on the rice negotiation that happened after the episode 5 immunity challenge. Hunapu spent all of this time dominating Koyopa by eating copious amounts of rice. So naturally, now that they've eaten all of their rice, it's time to punish the swap tribe that literally had no control over the fact Missy doesn't know how to ration. Neat. Again, we're assuming that the modes they combine with Koyopa. This means that 35 servings of rice is worth a tarp, blankets, pillows, and most of their tools. Interestingly, this implies the Texan flag may be worth 23 servings of rice entirely in its own right. It might be the most valuable thing ever brought on Survivor. How much rice is a skateboard worth? David vs. Goliath is where the math gets bizarre. I don't know if you know this, but Angelina sat out of a challenge to get rice for her tribe. She doesn't bring it up much, so you might have missed it.
I'm leaving feeling like I won because I was able to close the deal with Jeff and we can take Allison out.
This happened on day 30, but with quite a few players in the game. Doing some back-of-the-napkin math, Angelina secured, oh my god, 61 servings of rice for her tribe. This means Angelina, having a 1 in 9 shot of winning immunity, is worth 3.38 sandwich rewards. And Angelina's shot at immunity, that really was much lower than 1 in 9, is worth more than a tarp, blankets, pillows, and a bunch of tools, and the sandwich reward combined. Angelina is worth more than the Texan flag. Queen of Negotiation herself never doubted for a second, and so humble about it too.
I hate to pull this card, but when I got the rice for the tribe, you won immunity. I was so proud of you, and we've been able to eat because of that. I really didn't want to pull that out, but if that means anything, this would mean everything to me today.
In the new era, these rice negotiations happen quite a bit. Survivor 41's occurred at the final 11, and honestly, it's kinda steep, because this is not enough rice to last the rest of the game.
Enough rice for everybody for 3 days.
This is only 29 servings of rice because of the weird double tribal council thing that they did. And what does Jeff ask for?
I'll take 7.
Jeff wants 7 people to sit out of immunity. That means Jeff thinks a 7 out of 11 shot at winning immunity in Survivor 41 is worth less than half of Angelina's 1 in 9 shot at winning immunity. I'm not being mean, that's just maths. Alternately, Jeff thinks these castaways' life in the game is worth exactly half of a tarp, some blankets, and a Texan flag. Jeff, I know New Era casting was a bit rough at the start, but I don't think they're that bad. Jeff eventually relents down to 5 people, except then he gets fleeced down to 4. So Xander, Ricard, Shannon, Nasir combined are worth half of Angelina. Alternately, they're worth a slight bit more than 1 sandwich reward. I mean, yeah, I can see that. Survivor 42 switches things up by being essentially the exact same thing as Survivor 41, but with minor improvements that show production can be mildly introspective before a season actually airs and anticipate backlash. That's right, this time the rice isn't for 3 days.
Enough rice for everybody for 4 days.
It's for 4, bringing us up to 37 servings of rice. But in a twist, it's still worth 4 people. This means Lindsay, Drea, Omar, and Marianne are actually worth 1.3 as much as the Survivor 41 sit-outs. Considering the Survivor 42 cast is generally viewed a lot more favourably than the Survivor 41 cast, gotta say I agree. The cast of Survivor 43 again negotiate for 37 servings of rice, but did you notice Jeff straight up lying to them here?
The established price for this rice in this new era is 5 players.
No it isn't. The established price is 4 players. You folded both times. But it seems the price is firm now. Does that hold on Survivor 44? Weirdly enough, Jeff opts to not tell us how much rice there is. He just says,
In exchange for rice for the tribe.
that is not a concrete number, Jeff. How do you expect me to work with this, Jeff? The bag of rice at camp looks bigger. I'm gonna say it'll last them at least through to the final 6, giving us 51 servings of rice. In which case the value of the Survivor 44 cast is the highest of the new era. No individual castaway is worth as much as Angelina, but combined, they're getting there. Speaking of, Jeff went completely wild for the Survivor 45 negotiations. This is a massive bag of rice. This is not 3 days. This is not 4 days. This is
Enough rice to easily get you through the end of this game.
easily. That sounds impressive until you remember these are only 26-day seasons now, which means rice to last from the final 10 all the way until the final 3 is only 70 servings. Or should I say would be 70 servings because Jeff decided he was sick of people dithering and just went sicko mode on them? The bag did look pretty deflated by the end of the negotiation, but the asking price was 4 people for 70 servings, so that's what we're going to calculate on. It's not my fault, Jeff had a knife. This means the cost of Survivor 45 is worth more than double 41, and almost more than double 42, 43, and quite a bit more than 44. While no individual player holds as much value as Angelina, collectively, they've just managed to squeak ahead. Barely. Survivor 46 is where the new era goes a bit weird, because people were hungry, but apparently only for Applebee's, not for rice. At the final 10, Jeff tried to give them rice for 10 days, or 70 servings. In exchange, he wanted 4 sit-outs or 2 votes given up. Which means Jeff thinks a vote is inherently worth more than a shot at individual immunity. And yeah, he's right, but the players didn't want to do it, so no deal. Then at the final 8, we get another negotiation. And the bag is smaller here, meaning maybe my math about production calculating the number of servings per person isn't as insane as I think it is. Jeff says the price has gone up because it is a higher proportion of sit-outs and votes needed to secure the rice, but the price has actually gone up twice, because instead of 70 servings of rice, it should mathematically only be 51. But yet again, no bite. So to ensure Liz doesn't die of starvation or kill Q over Applebee's, they give her one person's portion of rice, possibly last until the end of the season, which should be about 8 servings of rice. In exchange for sitting out of a challenge she had no chance of winning. Which actually means that an individual sit-out is worth way less than a group sit-out. 4 people would grant 51 servings of rice. Liz should be getting 12.75 servings of rice. And if she was entertaining as Angelina, she should be getting 61 servings of rice. Sorry Liz, Jeff doesn't value you. Not as much as you value Applebee's. And definitely not as much as he values the Texan flag. But he does value useless dice, like an unreasonable amount, because the Survivor 40 several negotiations were just kind of dumb. He asks for 4 people in exchange for what I'm assuming to be 54 servings of rice if the season goes according to a normal schedule, meaning each person is worth 13.5 servings of rice. But instead he relents. He goes for 8 shot in the darks in exchange for the rice, meaning each shot in the dark is worth 6.75 servings of rice. That's not fair. You're telling me if Angelina had 10 d6s in her pocket, she wouldn't have had to give up her guaranteed immunity at the final 9? That's so unfair. I really wish there was some sort of currency I could use to quantify how much the rice is worth. Some sort of token of fire. But they never specify how much rice 5 fire tokens give you, and you have no idea how sad that makes me. If you have any idea of how much 5 fire tokens gives you in terms of servings of rice, let me know in the comments please. And maybe subscribe while you let me know. To close out, I thought I'd simplify the numbers and rank everything traded based on how valuable Jeff perceives it to be. In 11th place, 1 shot in the dark is worth 6.75 servings of rice. Liz is worth 7 servings of rice. 1 of Shan, Nasir, Xander, and Ricard is worth 7.25 servings of rice. 1 of Sam, James, Carla, Jesse, and Cassidy is worth 7.4 servings of rice. 1 of Lindsay, Marianne, Drea, or Omar is worth 9.25 servings of rice. 1 of Lauren, Carson, Kane, or Heidi is worth 12.75 servings of rice. And poor Kane, why are you going to do him like that? In 5th place, 1 of Dee, Emily, Drew, or Katura is worth 17.5 servings of rice. 4th place, a sandwich reward worth 18 servings of rice. 3rd place, Hunapu's Comfort worth 35 servings of rice. 2nd place, Barramundi's Comfort worth 58 servings of rice, with the flag of Texas doing most of the heavy lifting there. And 1st place, someone who you may not have even known gave up their shot at immunity for rice.
I was able to secure rice for the last 11 days.
Is the queen of negotiation herself, Angelina, worth 61 servings of rice. It's wild how we never hear about that. But what do you think? Would you sit out for rice? Let me know. Until next time, I've been Henry Hickman Survivor, and I'll see you at the rice negotiations.